A planet moves across the sky. Nothing unusual there. Planets are supposed to circle a star, the way the worlds in our own system circle the sun. The arrangement feels stable, familiar, almost inevitable. Then the picture shifts. Kepler 16b was confirmed orbiting not one star, but two. Instead of a single sun hanging in the sky, two stars move around each other while the planet keeps circling both of them. The center of the system is no longer one fixed object. Everything is in motion at the same time. That immediately creates a different reality. What looks like the kind of place where a planetary system should struggle to survive is a place where one already exists. The old assumption starts to lose its grip. Maybe planets do not require conditions that resemble our own neighborhood as closely as people imagine. Maybe the solar system is not the boundary of what works. Because once a planet is found living in a system like this, it becomes harder to argue that survival has only one successful design. And that raises a larger possibility. Kepler 16b may be an exception. Or it may be the first sign that the universe allows far more arrangements than expected. The easiest explanation is that the planet got lucky. Maybe it slipped into the right path at the right moment. Maybe it survived conditions that should have pushed it away. A rare accident can always exist. For a while, that idea still seems possible. Then, the observations keep coming. Kepler 16b does not wander. It does not drift into a different route. It does not show signs of a system struggling to hold together. The planet continues following the same predictable path around its two stars. The stars move. The planet moves. The pattern repeats. One cycle becomes another, then another. What matters is not a single observation. It is the fact that the behavior remains consistent. The system keeps doing tomorrow what it did yesterday. That changes the situation. An accident is supposed to look temporary. A fragile arrangement is supposed to reveal cracks when enough time passes. Instead, repeated observations show a planet operating inside a dependable rhythm. The accidental survival explanation begins losing options. Each successful pass around the stars removes another reason to believe the system is barely hanging on. Eventually, the pressure becomes difficult to ignore. The planet is not surviving in spite of the arrangement. The arrangement itself appears to work. And once that possibility is accepted, a new question starts taking shape. If a system like this can remain stable, how many other designs might work as well? The discovery settles into place. Kepler 16b is real. Its orbit holds. The system continues behaving the way a stable system should. Nothing is falling apart. Nothing is demanding an immediate rewrite of everything that came before. That creates a tempting conclusion. The strange planet can simply be placed on the shelf alongside other unusual discoveries. Interesting, real, worth studying, but separate from the picture most people already have in mind. The familiar model remains standing. When people picture a planetary system, they still picture home. One star at the center, planets moving around it. A structure that looks much like the solar system, so the larger picture barely changes. Kepler 16b is accepted as real, but it remains filed away as an exception rather than a replacement. Kepler 16b survives as an exception rather than a replacement. A successful oddity. A stable outlier. For the moment, that explanation feels comfortable enough to keep. The discovery matters, but the wider assumption remains intact. Most stars probably still resemble the Sun more than they resemble this system. At least, that is the belief that survives for now. The next problem is whether the rest of the galaxy agrees with it. The comfortable explanation lasts right up until the map gets larger. Kepler 16b can be dismissed as unusual, a stable exception, an odd arrangement that happens to work. That position becomes harder to maintain when attention shifts away from a single system and toward the wider galaxy. The picture changes. Stars are not always sitting alone. Across the galaxy, multiple stars can be found moving around one another, sharing the same system. What once looked like a strange architectural design begins appearing again and again. The consequence arrives immediately. The solar system has been serving as the reference model. It is the picture people carry in their heads when they imagine how stars and planets are supposed to be arranged. One star, a family of planets, a familiar structure, but a reference model only works when it represents what is common. Now the pressure starts building against that assumption. The more attention moves outward, the harder it becomes to treat systems like Kepler 16b as isolated curiosities. The discovery no longer sits alone at the edge of the map. It sits inside a larger population of systems that do not resemble the arrangement most people instinctively expect. That does not make the solar system wrong. It creates a different problem. The trusted example may not be as representative as it appears. The belief quietly flips. Instead of asking why some systems look different from ours, the question becomes whether our system is the unusual one. And if that is true, then the meaning of normal has to be reconsidered from the ground up. The shift is subtle at first. Kepler 16b still circles its stars. The system still works. Nothing about the planet changes. What changes is the frame around it. The wider stellar population comes into focus, and the familiar picture starts slipping out of the center. For generations, the solar system felt like the standard design because it was the example we knew best. Now that assumption becomes difficult to defend. The evidence no longer points toward Kepler 16b as the unusual object standing outside the norm. Instead, the reference model itself begins to look less typical than expected. The reversal is easy to miss, but once it happens, it changes the conclusion completely. The discovery began as a strange planet. It ended by exposing a much larger mistake. We assumed the solar system was the standard because it was the example we knew best. The solar system remains real. It remains stable. It remains the place where we live. But it may not be the arrangement that best represents how stellar systems are commonly organized. The belief that opened this journey finally collapses. Kepler 16b is not what turned out to be unusual. The solar system may be,